Why 99% of people are social slaves, the ban technique that makes you irresistible in 48 hours. The social beggar curse, why you're treated like trash, and the dark ritual that flips it. Have you ever noticed how some people have this supernatural magnetism? They don't chase anyone, don't beg for attention, don't humiliate themselves on social media, and yet, the entire world gravitates around them like planets in orbit. Meanwhile, you're out there sending message after message, desperately liking stories, and being treated like furniture. The brutal truth. You're living life backwards. The eighth law of power is the most disturbing of all because it breaks everything you were taught about relationships. Make people come to you. Sounds simple? It's hell to execute because it goes against every survival instinct you have. But here is the dark secret that social manipulation masters discovered centuries ago. True power isn't in the chase, but in creating a gravitational vacuum. Imagine a collector of rare artifacts. He doesn't go door to door offering his treasures. On the contrary, he locks himself in his mysterious sanctuary, surrounded by objects nobody else possesses. His house becomes an urban legend. People whisper about the wonders hidden inside. And the more he hides, the more people become obsessed with meeting him. He transformed his absence into magnetic presence. This is the predatory psychology of scarcity. When you're always available, always chasing, always responding instantly, you become predictable. Predictable equals disposable. Your reptilian brain interprets availability as low value. It's brutal, but it's pure neuroscience. We desire what we can't easily have. The problem is, our digital society programmed us to be attention beggars. Instagram, WhatsApp, Tinder, everything was designed to turn us into desperate hunters. But true social predators play a completely different game. They became collectors of human energy. The difference is devastating. The hunter spends energy pursuing. The collector accumulates energy by attracting. The hunter is always moving, always anxious, always reacting. The collector is static, centered, making others dance around them. One is playing chess while the other plays checkers. Here's your first impossible mission. For the next 24 hours, you're going to break all your social behavior patterns. Don't text first. Don't like stories. Don't respond immediately. Don't explain yourself. Don't apologize for being unavailable. Become a social ghost. This will be tortuous. Your brain will scream that you're losing opportunities, that people will forget you, that you need to try harder. Ignore it. That's the voice of social slavery speaking. The master of social attraction understands that your strategic absence is more powerful than your desperate presence. At the end of these 24 hours, observe what happens. Watch how people start behaving differently with you. Notice how they become more curious, more invested, more anxious for your attention. You didn't change, you just stopped being an energy beggar. If you manage to resist the temptation to break this rule, comment gravity and prepare for the next phase. Because what you just experienced is just the appetizer. The main course is much more disturbing. The mind virus: how to infect brains using Netflix's psychological addiction formula. You've ever watched a series that got you addicted? Of course you have. But do you know exactly why some series hook you while others make you change channels? The answer will shock you. It's not about what they show, it's about what they hide. Netflix hires behavioral neuroscientists who study one specific thing: how to create psychological addiction using incomplete information. They discovered our brain is a pattern addict. When we encounter gaps, our mind goes into obsessive mode trying to complete the puzzle. They literally hack our compulsive need for closure. Now imagine applying this same predatory psychology to your social interactions. Instead of vomiting all information about you, your life, your plans and thoughts, you become a mystery architect. You give pieces, fragments, clues. You become a walking Netflix series. I'll give you an example that will change your life. Last week, a follower told me how she completely transformed her social dynamic using this technique. Instead of telling everything about her weekend, when asked, she said, "It was interesting. Something happened that I never imagined was possible," and stopped. Literally stopped talking. Her silence created more curiosity than 1,000 words. Result? The person became obsessed with knowing more, sent 3 messages that night, called the next day, made up excuses to meet her in person. She had become a cognitive drug addictive precisely because she was incomplete. This works because it activates what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect. Our mind becomes obsessed with unfinished tasks. That's why you can perfectly remember a song that stopped in the middle, but completely forget songs you heard in full. Your brain is addicted to unresolved endings. But be careful, there's a difference between being mysterious and being annoying. Strategic mystery always promises future revelation. You're not lying or deceiving. You're creating anticipation. It's like a movie trailer, shows enough to create desire, hides enough to create obsession. The formula is diabolical. 30% revelation plus 70% mystery equals 100% obsession. You give intriguing clues, create emotional hooks, promise future developments, but never deliver the complete package at once. You become a curiosity dealer. In your next conversations, practice the rule of 3/3. Reveal only 1/3 of what you normally would reveal. When they ask about your plans, say, "I'm organizing something special, but I can't talk about it yet." When they ask about your past, tell a story that generates more questions than answers. Become an unfinished narrative. The most disturbing part, people will start inventing theories about you. They'll create fantasies about who you are, what you do, what you're planning. And these fantasies will always be more interesting than reality. You'll become more fascinating in their minds than you ever were in real life. If you're starting to understand the devastating power of incomplete information, comment void and prepare for the most dangerous technique of all: how to use time as a psychological weapon. The silent temporal weapon: how to break psyches using only pauses. Banned experiment. There is a psychological experiment called the Stanford Prison Experiment that was banned for being considered psychological torture. Know what was one of the most effective techniques to mentally break participants? Temporal control. The guards didn't use physical violence, they simply controlled when things happen. And this destroyed mental sanity faster than any aggression. Now, I invite you to use this same temporal psychology as a social seduction weapon. But be careful, you're entering dark territory. This technique is so powerful it can create real emotional dependency. Think about the last time you were waiting for an important response. 5 minutes feel like 5 hours. Your mind creates scenarios, invents meanings, generates anxiety. You become a prisoner of your own expectation. Now imagine having the power to intentionally create this sensation in other people. The master of temporal manipulation understands there are 2 types of time: objective time marked by the clock and subjective time lived by the mind. A 10-minute conversation can feel like 2 hours if it's boring. A 2-hour wait can feel like 10 minutes if it's exciting. You can literally distort people's temporal perception. I'll give you the most disturbing technique of all: the predatory pause. When someone asks you an important question, especially something involving emotion, expectation, or anxiety, you'll intentionally pause for 7-10 seconds before responding. Not 2-3 seconds, that's normal. Not 15-20 seconds, that's weird. Exactly 7-10 seconds. Why this specific time? Because it's the ideal point where the person starts feeling discomfort, but still can't identify if you're doing it on purpose. It's the valley of psychological uncertainty. Their mind will accelerate. They'll start interpreting your silence. They'll create meanings that don't exist. They'll feel vulnerable. And when you finally respond, your answer will have 10 times more impact than it normally would. Why? Because the temporary anxiety you created made them emotionally invest in your response. You transformed your common speech into a significant emotional event. But there's an even deeper level: the broken rhythm. Most conversations have a predictable rhythm. Question-answer. Question-answer, like verbal ping-pong. You're going to intentionally break this rhythm. You'll respond quickly sometimes, slowly others. You'll create conversational arrhythmia that keeps the person in constant alert state. Why is this so powerful? Because predictability equals psychological security. When you break the temporal pattern, you force the person to stay mentally present. They can no longer go into conversational autopilot. They need to pay attention to you. You become the gravitational center of the interaction. The most advanced technique is temporal escalation. You start responding normally, then gradually increase the intervals. First response, immediate. Second, 5 seconds. Third, 10 seconds. You're training their subconscious to value each word you speak more. Warning, this can be addictive. People start feeling that conversations with others are empty or energyless compared to conversations with you. You become a conversational drug. Use responsibly. Your mission for the next 3 days: practice the predatory pause in at least one conversation per day. Observe how this completely changes the dynamic. Notice how the person becomes more attentive, more invested, more curious about your opinions. If you felt the disturbing power of temporal control, comment time and prepare for the final synthesis where all these weapons combine to create almost supernatural social magnetism. The Trinity Code: 3 mind control layers that create instant emotional dependency. If you made it here, your mind is no longer the same. You've absorbed 3 of the darkest secrets of social manipulation: the gravity of absence, the addiction of incomplete information, and the power of temporal distortion. Now, I'll teach you to combine these 3 weapons into a devastating protocol that will transform you into an irresistible gravitational force. But before revealing the final protocol, I need to warn you of something disturbing. This combination can be addictive for you too. When you discover the power of making people orbit around you, when you feel absolute control over social dynamics, when you realize you can create obsession where indifference once existed, it can be hard to go back to being a normal person. You'll be crossing the social Rubicon. The protocol is called Trinity Protocol: 3 layers of influence operating simultaneously in the person's subconscious. Gravitational layer, your magnetic presence; informational layer, your strategic mystery; and temporal layer, your rhythm control. When these 3 layers operate together, you become psychologically irresistible. Layer 1: gravitational. You're no longer available like before. Don't respond to messages immediately. You're not always online. Don't accept every invitation. Your presence becomes a rare and valued event. People start planning their days around your availability. You became a social eclipse: rare, powerful, memorable. Layer 2: informational. Each interaction reveals only fragments of the complete story. You mention that interesting project without explaining what it is. Talk about that transformative experience without giving details. You become an unfinished biography that people become obsessed with completing. They invest mental energy trying to decipher who you really are. Layer 3: temporal. You control the rhythm of all interactions. Sometimes respond quickly, creating excitement. Sometimes delay, creating anxiety. Use strategic pauses that make your words sound deeper. You become the conductor of an emotional symphony where others are the instruments. The result? Supernatural social magnetism. People start behaving differently when you're present. Pay more attention to what you say. Remember conversations they had with you weeks later. Miss your presence when you're not there. You became an emotional experience, not just a person. But here's the deepest secret. This power doesn't come from external manipulation. It comes from internal transformation. When you stop chasing external validation, when you embrace the mystery of your own existence, when you control your own internal rhythm, you naturally become magnetic. You're not pretending to be interesting, you're discovering how interesting you always were. Your daily collector ritual is your preparation to operate at this new level of influence. 5 minutes every morning, reminding yourself that your rarity is your superpower, that your scarcity creates desire, and that your own rhythm is your unique signature in the world. Minutes 1-2. I am rare. Remind yourself you don't need to be available to everyone, always. Your strategic absence increases your value. Minutes 3-4. Am mystery. Plan which aspects of your life you'll keep private today, what fragments you'll reveal, what curiosity you'll create. Minute 5. I control my time. Decide your rhythm for the day. When you'll respond to messages, when you'll be present, when you'll create strategic pauses. The game has changed. You're no longer playing to survive socially. You're playing to dominate. You're no longer reacting to the social world. You're creating the social world around you. People will notice the change. They'll ask what happened to you. They'll say, you're different. and you will be. Because you discovered the secret that less than 3% of people know. True social power isn't about chasing energy, it is about becoming an energy source that others want to approach. If this journey transformed your understanding of social power, comment master to confirm your new identity. And remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Use this influence to elevate, not to destroy.